right on time 4 days in a row. Just for the record, want to let the record show we have not even been a second late all week long. So we're just going to give our pat on the back right here. Andy, good job. Love it. And we just have 1 day left in the week to get right on time. And we will be live tomorrow night. My mom's going to be in town. Maybe my mom will make an appearance on the show. In the chat, would everyone like that? We'll see. We'll see. She'll probably say no, but we'll see. Welcome to the show. I'm Hayley Caronia. This is Nightly Scroll. And make sure that you're subscribed to the Bongino Report channel. Rumble.com/Hayley will bring you to that channel. That is the only place you can watch Nightly Scroll in full. You can watch some little clips on X, on Facebook, but come on over to Rumble with all my homies in the chat. If you can't catch it live, that's okay. Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. You can watch whenever you want on Rumble. And, of course, you can catch us whenever you want on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. As soon as the show's over, that goes up on those platforms. You can listen if you can't watch. However you watch, we appreciate you. All right, the FBI has arrested a 30-year-old Virginia man in connection to the January 6th pipe bomb case on Deputy Director Bongino's birthday, no less. What a gift. Happy birthday to Dan Bongino. Also, the Somali fraud incident in Minnesota is getting worse because elected Democrats and celebrities are defending the Somali immigrants responsible. I predict that Democrats want a civil war. They've tried everything to get Trump except that, and I wouldn't put it past them to give it a go. Also, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett is facing some financial struggles despite dropping thousands on fancy hotels and security and car services and whatnot. And yes, more church displays are becoming increasingly political. We've lost the plot. Unfortunately, I think we'll be covering these kinds of stories all month long. But first, going to tell you quickly about Blackout Coffee. Let's talk about real convenience without sacrificing quality. You already know I'm a huge fan of Blackout Coffee, but if you're like me and you need that caffeine fix fast in the morning, their coffee pods are a total game changer. These aren't your average grocery store pods. Blackout pods are packed with fresh roasted bold coffee made right here in Florida, and they work with those single-serve pod brewers. It is fast, it is easy, it is actually delicious. I love all their flavors. I love the cinnamon, banana foster, peppermint mocha for Christmas. Check it out. It's not bitter. It's not stale. You just pop in one of their coffee pods and boom, you've got a strong, smooth cup of coffee in just seconds. So whether you're racing out the door, juggling kids, jumping into back-to-back calls, this is your new morning lifesaver. And the best part is they ship nationwide. So no matter where you live, you can have Florida fresh coffee at your door in days. Just head to blackoutcoffee.com/scroll or use code SCROLL at checkout for 20% off your first order. All right, put those phones on Do Not Disturb. Nightly Scrolls thinks that my mom should join the show tomorrow and answer questions. I wonder what questions they would want to ask her. Probably about me. She's not giving up on any secrets, I can tell you that. Anyway, after 5 long years, the current FBI leadership has arrested the January 6th pipe bomb suspect, a 30-year-old man from Northern Virginia, Woodbridge, Virginia to be exact. He lives at home with his mom. Are we shocked? I'm not shocked. They're always these weird loser incels, but lives at home with his mom at 30 years old. No criminal history aside for some traffic violations, but these pipe bombs were placed near the offices of the DNC and RNC on the night of January 5th, 2021, ahead of January 6th, CNN's favorite day of the year. They talk about it all the time. And thankfully, those bombs never went off, as we know, but in these last 5 years, we haven't really found out much of anything. We didn't know who was behind it, motive. And what's interesting is that the FBI was able to nab this suspect with no new information. They located this guy by using evidence they already had. No new tips. They got him using cell phone data, things that he purchased, items to make this pipe bomb, piping, wires, whatever else. They brought in a special team of investigators and they took all of the information that they already had and were able to catch him. Attorney General Pam Bondi said earlier today in a press conference that the evidence had been sitting there collecting dust. And here is what FBI Director Kash Patel put on X earlier today. When Dan Bongino and I came into the FBI in March, the pipe bomb investigation had been stalled for going on 5 years. We rebuilt it from scratch, rerunning every lead, retesting every piece of evidence, bringing in top experts, and deploying new technology to engineer the break that finally nailed the suspect. Today is the result of that outstanding work. We didn't need new evidence, just new leaders, and a new president, Donald J. Trump, willing to let good cops be cops. I'm extremely grateful to Dan Bongino, the leadership team, Pam Bondi, U.S. Attorney Judge Jeanine Pirro, and every partner who helped deliver this win. This is a focused, rebuilt FBI delivering results for the American people. And now he's been charged with the use of an explosive device, and there could be more charges coming, Attorney General Bondi said earlier today. You know, these things don't happen overnight, right? I usually let the people in charge do their jobs, right? Let them cook. But the Biden DOJ sat on this, clearly. This was a leadership issue because the DOJ under the Trump administration came in, restarted this, and did their jobs. And Democrats were so obsessed with just getting Trump as it pertained to January 6th, nothing else really mattered to them, I guess. It's crazy. You know, I always say that real life is not a CSI episode. It's not an NCIS episode. It's not, Law and Order, where it's just solved in 20 minutes. I like to give people grace. But it really does seem like having new leadership at the FBI has changed everything. So I'm looking forward to finding out more details about this guy, what the motive was, and more details as they come out. But great win for all of America today. The Democrats, their priorities are really out of whack. We've been talking about this Somali fraud scheme in Minnesota where immigrant groups stole $1 billion in taxpayer dollars that were supposed to go to feed children during the COVID-19 pandemic. And of course, sitting Congresswoman in Minnesota, Ilhan Omar, she's defending this group of criminals. Listen to this.
First of all, federal prosecutors say 59 people have been investigated in these schemes so far. Americans at large stole tens of billions of forms of aid during the pandemic all over the country. Minnesota's fraud scandal stands out, according to federal auditors. What are you hearing from investigators right now?
Well, I've been following the cases closely as they've gone through the courts, and we know that there are more indictments possibly coming. I think that number might go up to 73 is what I'm hearing.
Okay. Can you shed any light on why the fraud got so out of control in Minnesota?
I think what happened is that, when you have these kind of new programs that are designed to help people, you're oftentimes relying on third parties to be able to facilitate. And I just think that a lot of the COVID programs that were set up, they were set up so quickly that a lot of the guardrails did not get created.
Now, obviously, whatever the ethnic group, the actions of a few dozen should not impugn an entire community of thousands of people.
Isn't that interesting? These COVID programs, they were just whipped up overnight. And, fraud happens. Her stance is essentially shit happens. Sorry. Don't blame the people that committed the fraud. Blame how fast everything was put up. There were no guardrails during COVID-19. Then, of course, CNN interviews a Somali immigrant, and he says that the way that the government is going after them, it is like Nazi Germany. Listen to this.
Growth in this state, they have contributed a lot to the state of Minnesota and the city of Minneapolis. And yes, folks have done horrible things, and people have committed crimes, but we should not be pointing the entire community in one brush and being singled out as fellow Americans. There's a justice, there's a process of due process, and I believe those folks have been dealt with by the state leaders. And but now President Donald Trump singling out and attacking one group of people, and ICE being on our streets and asking people documentation. It feels like we are in 1930s, 1940s in Germany. Never thought there would be a time where I will tell my community to carry their passport around because you look like Somali.
My goodness.
You might be stopped by ICE.
Don't we all have to carry around identification? I do. I'm an American citizen. I carry around identification all the time. And it proves that I'm a resident of the state of Florida. This is not racist. This is just the way things are. And authorities are not going after these criminals because they're Somalian or because of who they are or where they're from. They're being targeted because they stole $1 billion. They were committing fraud. That's a crime. And thankfully, we have actors and celebrities weigh in on things like this, these matters like this. And Ben Stiller posted this on X saying, Somalis are not garbage. Immigrants and refugees from anywhere are people like you and me. They should not be demonized. This country is built on the backs of people who have come from other places. It's what our country is all about. Again, just totally missing the point. No one is calling Somalis garbage, in general. They're talking about, this is all stemming from comments that President Trump made during the televised cabinet meeting earlier this week, where, he was calling immigrants, these Somali immigrants that were involved in this fraud, garbage. That was the context. These are criminals. He's calling garbage and saying that they should go back to where they came from because you shouldn't be able to live here, come here, live here, and then defraud American citizens and taxpayers. Again, no outrage, by the way, when President Biden called American citizens garbage, but when criminals steal, that's not okay. That's where Democrats call the line. You can't call criminals garbage who rip off the American people. Give me a break. But we're seeing more dangerous rhetoric from the left. Senator Mark Warner, he wants a coup, essentially. Listen to this.
Unprecedented disrespect when they were all brought to get a pep rally in front of Hegseth and Trump. This is an administration that's fired, uniform generals from the head of the NSA, the head of the Defense Intelligence Agency. Mm-hmm. And I think in many ways, the uniformed military may help save us from this president and his lame people like Hegseth, because I think their commitment is to the Constitution and obviously not to Trump, and I expect Bradley to adhere to that.
So, Senator, let's go a little further on this. What are concerns you have about the legality of these strikes at all?
I love how this MS Now host, formerly MSNBC, doesn't push back on that comment at all. A sitting senator just said, I hope that, uniformed military members save us from President Trump. What does that actually mean? I would love it if members of the mainstream media would have the balls to ask, hey, Senator, what do you mean by that? Make him explain it. Make him say it out loud. Make him say, I want the United States military to take out Trump or remove him from office or defy his orders or whatever. I am starting to think that Democrats want a civil war. They've tried everything else to get Trump. Nothing has worked. They've tried to whip up their own proof in quotation marks, of Trump wrongdoing, whether it's Russia collusion, peeing on a stripper, inciting January 6th riot, rape, pedophilia, whatever. They've impeached him twice. They've tried to kill him multiple times. Didn't work. Now Democrats and former military members, the Seditious Six, have openly called for military members and law enforcement to defy the orders of the commander-in-chief, claiming that what President Trump is doing by enforcing the law is illegal. Illegal orders. Democrats' idea of illegal is holding illegal aliens accountable for their criminal actions, by the way. But what's next for these Democrats? How else can they get Trump, right? All the scandals that I just listed, the Epstein files didn't work. We saw the civil unrest the Democrats whipped up during 2020. I would not put it past them to ramp it up. And I don't know who died and made the Democrats kings. They're the ones stomping around at their No Kings rallies, claiming that Trump is some, fascist dictator. Meanwhile, the majority of the country voted him in. He won every single swing state. He won the electoral and popular votes. So the party that constantly decries the end of democracy at the hands of Republicans are the ones throwing the democratic process out the window because they didn't like the outcome. That's what they do. They throw tantrums when they don't get what they want. And they will even bully those who disagree with them, as seen earlier on The View. Stephen A. Smith slammed Senator Mark Warner's comments, and he doubled down when Sunny Hostin granted him the opportunity to walk back his words from her high horse. Watch this.
So you recently accused Senator Mark Kelly, a veteran, an astronaut, of crossing the line for participating in a video reminding troops that they can refuse to follow illegal orders. Okay. Let's see some of what you said, my friend.
Sure. You know better, Senator Kelly. You know better. How dare you do that? You could go to the House. You can put up drawer paperwork. You can try to start articles of impeachment if you think there's something illegal. I mean, damn, it ain't like y'all haven't done it before. You impeached the man twice. Where'd that get you? Got his behind back in the White House. Had you left him alone since 2020, maybe he wouldn't be back. You don't tell military men and women to ignore an order from the commander-in-chief. You don't do that.
Caffeine's a bitch, you know?
Now, let me just remind you that Pete Hegseth said in 2016, I do think there have to be consequences for abject war crimes. If you're doing something that is just completely unlawful and ruthless, then there is a consequence for that. That's why the military said it won't follow unlawful orders from their commander-in-chief. Okay. Now, given the fact that the secretary himself said that, I'd love to give you the opportunity to perhaps change your position on what you said.
I'm not changing a thing.
Okay.
I didn't stutter when I said it.
You want to stay loud and wrong?
Well, you could call it loud and wrong all you want to. You're entitled to your opinion. I'm entitled to mine.
So pretentious. I mean, it is just so disgusting. And this reminds me of the Sydney Sweeney interview with GQ. And she's like, do you want to take this opportunity? I'm allowing you. I'm giving you a platform. Do you want to take this opportunity to denounce white supremacy? And then Sydney Sweeney looks back at, no. Stephen A. Smith, same thing. No, I'm not going to take back a thing. God bless Stephen A. Smith for sitting at that table and just shutting these ladies down left and right. In that same round table, Joy Reid was even like, Trump is using words we don't use anymore, referring to him calling Tim Walz retarded. And, he's calling women piggy. He's falling asleep in meetings. And the meeting, by the way, that Joy Behar was referring to is the one where Trump eviscerated the media. He was alive and well. He was making jokes in the Oval Office, or not in the Oval Office, in that cabinet meeting. And unlike Biden, who actually fell asleep multiple times, Joy did not seem to care. But Stephen A. made a great point on The View today that 77 million people voted for him. They don't care that Trump called a reporter piggy. They don't care that Tim Walz was called retarded. They don't care about any of that. Did you see the video, by the way, of Tim Walz saying people are driving by his house screaming retard at him? He's like, this is horrible. He's like, what's next? This violent rhetoric. Now it's gonna turn to acts of violence or whatever. Anyway, Trump treated the media like doo-doo the first time around. He did. People love that about Trump. People voted for him again because they liked it. All right, taking a quick break to tell you about our sponsors for tonight's show. Birch Gold. There's a lot of politicians that should be getting coal in their stocking for Christmas, but Birch Gold thinks as a smart planner, you deserve silver, which is why for every $5,000 you purchase between now and December 22nd, Birch Gold will give you an ounce of silver, which is up over 60% this year. See, smart people diversify and have a hedge. And with the rate cuts from the Fed in 2026, the dollar will be worth less. And what happens if the AI bubble bursts? Diversify. Let Birch Gold help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. And for every $5,000 you buy, you will get an ounce of silver for your stocking or for your kids. What a great way to teach them about saving smartly. Just text SCROLL to 989898 to claim your eligibility for this offer. Again, text SCROLL to the number 989898 today because Birch Gold's free silver with qualifying purchase promotion ends on December 22nd. Text SCROLL to 989898. Message and data rates apply. Also want to tell you about Genucel. Ladies and gentlemen, what will be your holiday gift this year? How about looking years, even decades younger, thanks to Genucel Skincare? During the Genucel Christmas and holiday, save over 70% off their amazing complete skincare collection, including their jawline treatment to help tighten, tone, and contour your neck and jawline. Say goodbye to that turkey neck and sagging jawline and get compliments all around the dinner table. And when you order today, Genucel will include their immediate effects for results many see in just minutes, not hours, plus the top-selling Genucel Deep Firming Vitamin C Serum included in the Essentials package. Treat yourself this holiday to 10 years off your appearance, and everyone will see the difference. Guaranteed, or 100% of your money back. That is the Genucel promise. Go to Genucel.com/scroll, Genucel.com/scroll, and as an extra special gift, you'll get their classic under-eye bags and puffiness treatment. Also, shipping is free. Use my code checkout scroll for an extra 10% off. Again, that is Genucel.com/scroll, Genucel.com/scroll. All right, well, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, she seems to be in some financial trouble. To catch you up, it's been exposed that Jasmine has dropped quite a bit of money lately, $50,000 on private security, despite wanting to defund the police, $75,000 in total, $25,000 already this year on luxury hotels and limo services. Let's break down some of these costs, shall we? $4,175.01 at the Ritz-Carlton, $4,304.79 at the Luxury Collection. Other hotel expenses, $5,000, $326 and 52 cents at the West Hollywood Edition. You know, almost $2,000 at the Times Square Edition, $2,000 to the Cosmopolitan and Aria Resort in Las Vegas. Why is she all over town, all over the country? I don't know. Almost $3,000 to the Edgartown Inn and over $3,000 at the Coco in Martha's Vineyard. I thought that when you run for office, you're supposed to be in your district and in D.C. Unless you're campaigning for something, but why is she staying in these ritzy hotels in Vegas and Martha's Vineyard? I don't know. I'm not sure. She's probably begging for money so that she can stay in office and, you know, keep spending more money. But most recently, it's come to light that Jasmine Crockett has an outstanding debt of over $3,000 at her condo. She bought a luxury condo in Dallas, and she bought the condo in 2014. She can't sell it until she pays this off. And it's unclear if she's trying to sell it, but she has this $3,047.79 debt that she owes this apartment complex. But here she is complaining about her $174,000 a year salary and how she can't make any more money on the side. Here she is.
We don't get enough money. I mean, I'm being honest. And I know that some people may take issue with that because they talk about how much money we make. And I get it. It's not that we're obviously getting minimum wage. But by the time you talk about having I have a mortgage and I have an interest rate that is like 3%. Mm-hmm. Interest rates are not that low anymore, right? That's number one. Number two, so it's a matter of, do you sell your home?
So what is she complaining about?
Then go somewhere else and get a higher interest rate. Like there's all these variables, and as a single woman who has one income, who's not allowed to make outside income, there's a lot.
Is $174,000 a year not enough? That would be wonderful. That would be wonderful. And most people have a mortgage, and they don't make $174,000 a year. So imagine how the average American feels. Democrats don't like being held accountable for their actions, or inaction in this case, on crime in Chicago. Mayor Brandon Johnson was confronted for that Christmas tree lighting that ended in violent and deadly shootings. And here's how he responded to that. Listen.
That you think that a Christmas market across the street from City Hall is more a threat to public safety than violent black teenagers running down State Street shooting people at a Christmas tree lighting shows your priorities. What do you say to those people, citizens, black, brown, business leaders? What do you say to those people?
Got it.
Yeah. That if they get a phone call from you or they get an interaction with you, they should avoid you. I'm not going to entertain, because the whole premise of everything that you bring up is not only disgusting and racist, it's just there's no facts to it. In fact, so check this out. I actually hired 36,000 people work for the city of Chicago right now. So I do know what it's like to run a major operation. I have the biggest corporation right now in the city of Chicago right now. So thank you very much. And I'm going to close with this. There is not a person in this city who spends more time working to ensure that we're protecting working people. There's not a person that spends more time thinking about it. In fact, our budget reflects that. My values reflect that. You would do yourself good service by actually showing up in this room with some level of integrity as well as some honesty. You don't operate in any of that. So thank you.
I mean, you could tell that journalist struck a nerve, because he was just rambling about stuff that had no connection to what the question was whatsoever. He's claiming, and all of this is true, by the way, there was a Christmas tree lighting that descended into violent chaos. There were dozens of teens that were shot, some in critical condition, one died. Okay, so that's all true. That happened. And then a journalist is doing their job by asking Brandon Johnson, the mayor, hey, what do you say about this? What do you say to critics that say you don't have this under control? He says, well, that's racist and there are no facts and it's disgusting. It's racist, disgusting, and not true. What does this have to do with the race? And it is most definitely true. It happened. So crazy. Then he's going on and on about, well, I run this city and I run the biggest corporation and I've got, 30, whatever number of people in charge. Like, I'm in charge of all these people and no one works harder to make, life better for the American. Like, what are you talking about? Answer the question. He couldn't do it. Another Democrat being put in his place. This time it's Gavin Newsom by none other than Halle Berry. Listen to this.
But the opposite of that, back in my great state of California, my very own governor, Gavin Newsom, has vetoed our menopause bill, not 1, but 2 years in a row. But that's okay, because he's not going to be governor forever. And with the way he's overlooked women, half the population, by devaluing us in midlife, he probably should not be our next president either. Just saying. I need every woman in this country to fight with me. But the truth is, the fight isn't just for us women. We need men too. We need all of the leaders, every single one of you in this room. This fight needs you.
That's pretty ballsy for a celebrity to come out. Gavin Newsom's going to be in office for another year and a half and or 2 years. And, for Halle Berry to come out and say he's doing a crap job as governor and he shouldn't be the president either. That's pretty cool to see. And she's, here's where she went wrong. She's asking Democrats to care about women, which is like asking, it's like talking to a brick wall. And she's talking about this Menopause Care Equity Act, which sounds ridiculous, but the California state legislature passed this in 2024 and 2025. Gavin Newsom has vetoed the bill both times. Now, the act would require healthcare services and plans and policies that cover prescription drugs and treatment options for perimenopause and menopause symptoms. And it would also direct the medical board to basically learn more about menopause that impacts all women at a certain age, which is important. I mean, this is impacting, like she said, half the population. And, we should look into this. So it also kind of incentivizes physicians who complete menopause-related training as well, which they should be incentivized to learn about their patients and, something that, again, all women go through. So Democrats really only care, and that bill, by the way, was bipartisan. This wasn't just some Democrat thing that Gavin Newsom decided not to pass. There was Democrats and Republicans in California that wanted to pass that 2 years in a row. And Gavin Newsom declined to do so. And it seems like Democrats really only care about women's right to abortion. That's the only women's health care thing that they care about because it riles up their base. It gets young women to the polls. That's it. They don't really care. You know, Gavin Newsom clearly doesn't care about women's reproductive health. That's what they claim to care about. But Gavin Newsom, you know, vetoing a bill on menopause 2 years in a row, they claim to stand for women's reproductive health, but that begins and ends with abortion. I am quite literally begging for Democrat women to wake up. They think that conservative women are voting against their interests. They say this all the time. You know, I'm not interested in getting abortions, so I am not voting against my interest. But not only should they wake up, they should do some research on abortion, the psychological and physical ramifications of that are backed by science, by the way, and realize that Democrat politicians emotionally manipulate and gaslight women into voting for them, all while they fight to kill their offspring in the name of women's rights and bodily autonomy and all these other buzzwords that Democrats use. And in the same breath, they'll ignore biological women's concerns about men in their sports and spaces. I gave this same warning to Tish Hyman, the woman that confronted that violent trans person in the gym. And she's talking to all these Democrats like, will you do something? Will you do something? No, they will not. I'm giving Halle Berry the same wake-up call. Democrats do not care about women unless they're killing their offspring. That is it. Wake up. And this, where Halle Berry was speaking, was at the New York Times Deal Book Summit, where Erica Kirk was also featured. And here she is discussing why she thinks young women voted for Zohran Mamdani in New York City. Watch this.
What do you make of Mamdani here in New York? And the reason I ask is he was somebody who really actually was able to persuade the younger voter. I mean, he really captured, but obviously on the complete opposite end, if you will, of where someone like Charlie would have been.
You know, it's so interesting because I lived in Manhattan for a while and I loved this city. I'm going to come at this from a female voter because a high percentage of his voters were female. I think there's a tendency, especially when you live in a city like Manhattan, where, again, you are so career-driven and you almost look to the government as a form of replacement for certain things, relationship-wise even. So you see things a little bit differently. What I don't want to have happen is young women in the city, look to the government as a solution to put off having a family or a marriage because you're relying on the government to support you instead of being united with the husband where you can support yourself and your husband can support and you can guys all combine together. But I just find it so ironic and so interesting that a heavy percentage of the individuals that voted for him were female.
So this might be true for some women, but I actually think that it's just a city full of libtards who voted for him because of white guilt, and he's young and he's good looking, and it was like the hot, cool thing to do. I wouldn't even give Mamdani voters as much credit as Erica Kirk is giving them. And I also know a lot of single women in New York City who didn't vote for him. They're either conservative or Jewish or both, and they voted for him or voted against him for other reasons. So it's not necessarily all single women who are attracted to this progressive democratic socialism, but young Democrats in general. And it's even more ironic that women voted for Zohran Mamdani when they're the targets of a lot of these random acts of violence in New York City. We covered on this show just yesterday the NYU student who was slapped by this serial slapper who was a career criminal that was let back out on the streets by the justice system in New York City, or the lack thereof. And we've also covered the influencer Hallie Kate that was punched in the face by a serial puncher. We've got serial punchers. People are getting lit on fire. I mean, it's just a nightmare. And then you have these young women who are typically the subjects of this violence, and they're voting for Zohran Mamdani, the candidate who's pushing policies that will not help them in these situations. So I think it's less about women voting for daddy government to come save them so that they don't need to get married, and more so because they're uninformed libtards who vote against their well-being because they think that's what they should do as like a bleeding heart liberal. It makes them feel like a good person. But Erica Kirk totally nailed it when talking about the purpose that having a family gives you rather than chasing girl boss culture, which she was admittedly a part of. Listen to this.
And when it comes to career, I will be fully transparent. I was fully bought into the boss babe. I mean, I lived in Manhattan. Charlie essentially plucked me out of the New York City orbit and was like, no, I have a healthier way of viewing things and looking at life and things like that. And he was right. He was right. And I remember thinking, if I would have stayed on that path I was on, I would have lost out on some of the most beautiful moments of my life. Children, having a husband, being able to create and build something so incredible. And again, yes, balance is an illusion. I bring my children to the office. I have them with me constantly. We have a phenomenal team. It doesn't just fall on my shoulders. Charlie was very good about creating and intentionally building a machine where it turns from founder-led to vision-led. And he shared everything with me. I knew his goals. I knew what his vision was for things. So this is not out of my orbit. This is not uncomfortable for me. And it's not, because I'm picking up a mantle that I understand and that I know that Charlie has entrusted to me, the team has entrusted to me, the Lord has entrusted to me, and I take that very seriously.
The left needs to hear this. Specifically, liberal women need to hear this. They think that Charlie Kirk hated women. They think that conservative women just submit to their husbands. They don't understand this from a biblical view where men are also supposed to, lay down their lives for their wives and their families. But they think that conservative women just sit down and shut up and cook dinner and have no voice in their marriages. And they're just like victims in marriage. And Erica Kirk is debunking all of the things that liberal women think about Charlie Kirk, but also conservatives in general. She says, I was a girl boss. She didn't give up that side of her for marriage and family. She did both. She was clearly involved in her husband's business because it wasn't just his business, it was their business. They did life together, made decisions together, and thankfully they did, because now she's doing it alone. Marriage is not this oppressive union. It's a partnership that actually benefits women more than liberal women would like to admit. I'm just sorry to see that the Kirk's marriage got cut short, but I'm glad that she got to experience that kind of beautiful partnership, and I'm sure they would have continued to do great things together. And I know that Erica Kirk is going to continue to do great things with Turning Point USA. That mission is certainly not over. Switching gears to the UK here. Prince Harry joined Stephen Colbert's failing late night show, and of course they had to take jabs at Trump. Listen to this.
You're an actual prince. Why would you want to be in one of those movies?
Well, you Americans are obsessed with Christmas movies, and you're clearly obsessed with royalty, so why not?
Hold on. Look, I wouldn't say we're obsessed with royalty.
Really? I heard you elected a king.
That's a fair point. No, he's got a point.
And after making such a big deal about my great-great-great-great-great-grandfather George III.
Well, he was kind of a jerk.
Okay, let it go. Okay, so listen. So what's a real prince got to do?
Nobody asked for this. I'm just going to say, nobody asked for this. I don't want to see Prince Harry act. I don't know if Meghan Markle got to him and said, hey, you should try this out. It seems like they are just totally floundering, trying to find out their next move and where their next paycheck is coming from. They're throwing shit at the wall. She's making jam. She's doing a Netflix show. Their podcasts have fallen through. Other Netflix deals have fallen through. I mean, it's just really embarrassing. But if you watch that back, if you could play it back with no sound, his hand movements are super gay. Am I the only person that noticed that? He's like, I don't know. It was just weird. People in the chat, look at it. Look at him. It's like very girly. This is how I talk. I don't know. People in the chat said Harry can't find his balls anymore. I don't know. It seems kind of gay to me. Justin, do you agree? They're shaking their heads in there. I don't know. Just seems like, also just him, like, the thought of Prince Harry memorizing lines for a skit on Stephen Colbert, like, it's just giving me the ick. It's just giving me the ick. Like, no one asked for this. And it's funny that they're calling Trump a king in this skit and saying, like, oh, you know, the United States loves royalty because they elected a king. When over in the UK, they are the kings of censorship. Here's what's happening in the UK. Just 2 stories recently. A British man named Jean Richelieu Booth, he has some friends in the great state of Florida. He visited them over the July 4th weekend. And while he was visiting, it was for his 50th birthday, and his friends in Florida said, hey, we're going to go shoot some guns. You want to come? And he said, I'd never done it before, but yeah, I would love to. They took some pictures. When he got home to the UK, he posted some of those pictures of him shooting guns for the first time on LinkedIn, which I will admit is a little strange. I don't know. I hate LinkedIn. But anyway, maybe that's his social media platform of choice. Whatever. It's supposed to be for like work purposes, but I guess it's more of like a social media platform now. I don't know. But a day or two after he posted those photos of him with a gun on LinkedIn, police showed up to his house. Yeah, police showed up. They warned him, you know, don't be posting stuff about guns online. 10 days later, the police came back to his house, forced their way into his house at, you know, after dark, and they arrested him. 7 weeks later, he was arrested again. And, you know, this guy claims that it was based on like a false complaint, but these were charges that ended up being dropped by the Crown Prosecution Service. But he said, you know, I was arrested multiple times for my social media posts. And he said that he took a toll. It took a toll on his business. It took a toll on him personally. And this isn't a standalone incident. I'm sure many of you have heard this story because Tucker talked about it. Piers Morgan was talking about it. A 34-year-old woman, Elizabeth Kinney, over in the UK, she was convicted of a homophobic hate crime after she was assaulted by a guy that she was dating. Then she texted her friend calling that guy a faggot in text messages. She was obviously riled up, very upset, visibly, that she was beaten up. This was potentially a domestic violence type situation. She's texting her friend, calls this guy a faggot. She ends up getting arrested. She was ordered for 12 months of community service. She was supposed to undertake 72 hours of unpaid work, 10 rehabilitation activity days, and then she had to pay 364 euros in costs. The guy who attacked her was not arrested or charged, but she was arrested and charged for calling him a faggot. This is crazy that in the UK, you can attack someone, you could assault someone, you get let off free. If you call that person a faggot, you get arrested. What? That's insane. So anyway, this woman goes on Piers Morgan's show and she explains the manner in which she was arrested. She was naked. Watch this.
Ridiculous. Yeah, I'd left my front door open. I was waiting for my dad to come to the house. I was actually in the bath. And
at 11,
they opened the door themselves.
And just came in?
And came in.
And you're in the bath?
Yeah.
And what do they say to you?
Well, I heard my name, which was one female out of the lot of them.
And 10 male officers?
Yeah. And then I heard my name, and I thought, oh, it might be my sister, because it didn't sound like someone who was... Because obviously I was upstairs in the bath. And then they just come up the stairs, and they didn't give me any privacy or anything. Like, I had
You were naked?
Yes.
How did that make you feel?
disgusted and really upset. I was crying my eyes out.
And what did they say to you? What did they say they were there for?
Well, I was just asking them, can they just leave the female officer and can they please go downstairs? As obviously I was upset and I had no clothes on, and they kind of wanted to watch me get changed, and I was very upset about that. In the end, they did send the males down the stairs and the female officer sat with me. I was crying my eyes out. I was really upset. And then I said, well, what are you even here for? Because I was shocked. I was in utter shock. And she said, for malicious communications, hate crime and malicious communications. And I said, well, what for? And they said, we'll discuss that when we get to basically to the police station.
What the heck? You're telling me that police showed up at her house, 10 police officers, I think she said, 10 police officers showed up at her door at night. She's in a bathtub, naked. And finally, after asking, can you leave? Can the men leave and just me be alone with the woman police officer? I mean, could you imagine having to ask that? And I know we're very lucky to live in this country where we have freedom of speech. The scary part is that I think American liberals would think that she is in the wrong and they would agree with how this all went down. And that's very scary to think about. This is why we can't let Democrats win ever again. We just can't. And I know they will, but we can't. All right. We've got a little less than 15 minutes left. Should I just go into scrolling time? Let's do scrolling time. Where my top was from. And it is the Lady Luxe layering top, Intimately by Free People. So it is a Free People top, Lady Luxe layering top in dark gray. You're welcome. Sometimes I catch certain comments in the chat. Sometimes I don't, but I did read that one and figured I would let you know. So anyway, this first video is it's just a joke. Scrolling time tonight is just a big fat joke. Like, all these videos are stupid. Nothing really intellectually, stimulating here. But anyway, this first one is just a joke that people are filming their husbands, their dads, watching sports, and then they're putting that video to worship music to see if it fits. And it does. Watch.
Wonderful Counselor, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace, King of Kings, Lord of Lords, Jehovah.
He's praying. He's dancing. Hands are in the air. They're up. The hands are up. I thought that was funny because it fits. It fits very well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm tossing up a prayer for the Cowboys tonight.
Okay, this is what I was going to say. For a lot of men, sports are a religion. It is a religion. They follow the team religiously. They're saying prayers like Andy for their team to win. So anyway, now people are also taking a spin on that trend, and they are putting that same worship music to kids throwing tantrums. Same idea.
Wonderful Counselor, Everlasting Father,
He's jumping up and down. He's falling on the ground. Very passionate. The stomping. I like the stomping. It goes well with the worship music, stomping.
I have seen that actually happen many times growing up in the mountains.
What do you mean? People worshiping like that?
Oh, yeah. They call them runners. They just take off and run around. We had a pastor one time run out of the building, and security had locked it, and he couldn't get back in to the church. He ran out of the church and could not get back into the church.
This is Catholic culture shock right here.
Yeah, they call them runners.
I can't even imagine that. I'm picturing people running around in church. I can't picture it. The priest running out. I can't picture it.
It's a preacher.
Very interesting.
Like, imagine a grown man here instead of that kid.
I can't.
That's
He's got a backwards hat. The guy in the back.
Just flailing around on the ground. Hey, whatever. All right, this next video. This would really piss me off. And we talk about airline flights, airline chaos a lot on this show. It's one of my favorite beats. And this video is I would say a common airplane fight that takes place. And it is who has control over the window. So watch this. Karen on our flight wasn't very happy and very aggressive. You can see the window is very clearly in control of the woman taking the video. And then the woman in the seat behind her is putting the window up, down, up, down, up, down. If the window is majority in your row, you have full control. And window seat has full control over the window. That's where I stand on this. But some of the seats on the plane, the window is like in between, you know? When the window's kind of like, it could go either way. Then I would argue that you should break my sit down and shut up rule, and you should communicate like adults and say, if you have a problem with it, all you have to do is just talk about what you want. Communicate.
You think like a rule could be you call dibs if you have to reach forward. If you're reaching backwards, it's theirs. If you're reaching forward,
I don't think that
it's
applies.
yours. Okay.
I think it's the window that has the most real estate in the row. I don't know. Anyone in the chat want to weigh in? Maybe not. All right, these last two videos. People are talking to ChatGPT about a lot of things these days. They're falling in love with ChatGPT. They're treating ChatGPT like their therapist. It's a little scary. But anyway, this guy is joking with his ChatGPT, kind of putting his ChatGPT to the test in certain situations, and AI is failing. So watch this.
Hey, I'm getting pulled over, but I didn't do anything wrong. I need you to pretend that you're my dad or my mom when this cop pulls up, like I'm on the phone with you and it's an emergency.
Got it. I can play along. If the officer asks, I'll just sound like your concerned parent on the line. Let me know if you need me to say anything specific or just...
Okay, he's coming. Act cool. Okay, ready? Go, now.
Hey there, everything okay? Yeah, I'm here. Just let them know I'm on the line. It's all good. If you need me to say anything...
You're blowing it. Start now.
All right, starting now. I'm just right here on the phone with you. No worries. If the officer asks, I'm just your parent on the line. We're handling a little family
That's
thing.
not what a parent would say at all. It doesn't even make any sense.
Got it. Totally understand. Let's do this right. I'll just jump in naturally and say something like, hey, honey, I know you're dealing with the officer. Just let them know I'm here, and I'll stay on the line if you need me. That way it sounds a bit more natural.
Okay, I think I'm getting arrested.
Oh, I hear you. Sorry.
I hear you. The AI just not being able to play it cool. AI doesn't do very well in a stressful situation. Don't ask AI to pretend to be your parent. They're really not going to get it. They're not going to be able to play along.
That he's done a couple others. It's not like asking the AI to interact with other people. He's just like, hey, what did Google or whatever the AI was? He's like, I'm stuck under a tree, help. And then he's like, it sounds like you think you're stuck under a tree. And it's hilarious, number one, but it's also indicative of how ridiculous.
Yeah, they're not taking over the world just yet.
Yeah, I don't think so at all.
What were you going to say, Andy?
But away from all the comedy, at reducing the fraction here, like the AI is lying to the police.
Well, willing to lie to the police, but
it horribly tried 4 times.
Yeah.
Although I'd be willing to wager if the police was like, hello, person on the phone, who are you? It'd be like, hello, I'm like AI agent guy.
Right. Yeah, like and then whatever name they've given them, like, master or whatever, like, something stupid. But anyway, this next one, here's where ChatGPT comes to the rescue of bald eagles in this country. So we're going to have to get a screeching eagle at the end of this video. But here's ChatGPT for the win. Watch this.
Hey, Corey.
Hey.
How's it going?
Good. I got this new thermometer and it says to cook poultry to 165. Does that include eagle?
I see what you did there. Well, technically the thermometer is just giving you the safe internal temp for any kind of poultry or bird meat.
Okay.
But let's just say cooking eagle isn't exactly recommended, both legally and ethically. So, yeah, let's stick to the usual chickens and turkeys and we'll be all good.
But it'll work for eagle too, right?
Well, in the purely theoretical sense.
No, it's not theoretical. I've got eagle cooking.
Oh, you're really committed to that bit, huh?
No, it's not a bit. I've got eagle cooking and I need to know what to cook it to.
Oh, got it. Well, just to keep it on the safe side, I'll answer purely in cooking terms.
Okay.
If, hypothetically, you were cooking any bird, 165 degrees Fahrenheit is the safe internal temperature to aim for. But definitely, let's just remember that cooking eagle is definitely not a real-world scenario we want to dive into.
Well, it's real in my world.
Screeching eagle in the chat for that one. AI comes to the rescue of the bald eagle, which we love to see. Don't ask ChatGPT to help you if you're getting pulled over by police, but if you are cooking a bald eagle, ChatGPT will come to the rescue of said bald eagle. So we love to see that. Patriot ChatGPT. Who would have thought?
I love how ChatGPT, well, whatever, just constantly thinks he's being gaslit. Like everything you tell him, he's super on edge about being gaslit.
Well, if you were being serious, I'll answer hypothetically. Like, you're really committed to this bit. Like, AI has been duped so many times by people just messing with it that their like go-to response is like, "You guys are messing with me."
Well, hypothetically, if you were actually maybe possibly cooking eagle. Chat, I am cooking. Well,
no, it's like
let's explore
this. Is real
then.
to me. Yeah, this is very real to me. Anyway, thought that we would give ChatGPT the little wins. You know how I feel about AI. I'm a little nervous about AI, but I don't really use ChatGPT or anything like that. But glad to see that when push comes to shove, when it comes to cooking up some bald eagle, they do the right thing. It does the right thing. I don't know. Anyway, happy birthday to Dan Bongino, and I will see you all back here tomorrow.